Yay!
Hello, welcome back to another video. Today we will be learning how to set up our Pylon photo booth. This is a fairly complicated video, so you will have to watch closely and pay attention. This video will only show the basic setup. It does not qualify you to change any of the settings on the iPad inside the photo booth. We will have a separate video for troubleshooting and general training for the software by itself. With this rental, you will be setting up in 3 different steps: connecting power and data cables, setting up the stand, and setting up the iPad to run the instructed format. We will have to jump back and forth between items. Do your best to remember the previous steps as we go. It helps to get an idea what you're working with. When you complete the setup, the photo booth will look like this. Some setups will not include the printer, but in this video we will show you how to get it connected. We will set up the cables in the base of the photo booth before we set up the rest of this item. We will show pictures to walk you through. All the cables needed will be in the photo booth carrying case. We will start setup with the base of the photo booth. When you pull it out of the case, it should have everything you need. Everything will still be connected from the last event, but we will go over everything to make sure you don't find yourself confused when you reach your event and someone took the whole thing apart and forgot to put it back together. Start by pulling out the tray and set all your items out so you can see them all. Grab the USB-C hub. It will be the main piece you will be connecting most of the cables to. Now grab the Raspberry Pi. This is a computer chip that will be processing the print requests from the iPad. You will connect the printer and iPad to this piece. Grab the blue Ethernet cable and plug one side into the USB-C hub and the other side into the Raspberry Pi. This will be the communication line between the iPad and the Raspberry Pi. This cable is the micro USB power supply that will be fueling our Raspberry Pi. For cable management, you might need to disconnect the cable and move it when we put the tray containing all the items back into the stand. This cable will be plugged into the left side of the Pi as shown. Now we will grab the printer cable and plug it in. This will go into the Pi and not the USB-C hub. This can be an easy mistake to make. If this cable isn't plugged into the correct place, the printer will not work. Double check to see if the printer cable is in the correct place. Now we can plug in the USB-C power cable. This will plug directly into the USB-C hub. Like the Raspberry Pi power cable, this item might need to be moved for cable management purposes. That will be all the items we will need to connect in the box. We can put these items back into the tray. If you can do cable management, this will be the most convenient time during your setup. I personally like to pull the USB-C and printer cable out the back of the stand and pull the Raspberry Pi power cable through the side. Now with all the cables connected and the tray slid back into place, we can connect the stand to the photo booth frame. The frame has screws on the bottom that you will use to attach the stand. The stand will slide onto the screws, and you will have to tighten it to hold it in place. Now you might notice that we have 2 loose cables floating behind the stand. This first one is the power cable to the LED light, and the other is a USB-C extension to the iPad. Take the USB extension and connect it to the USB hub in the tray. Put the tray back into place after you get the hub connected. We can now stand the photo booth. We will come back to the other power cable later. Now we will open up the printer's carrying case. You will find everything you need for the printer in here. Typically, you will also find a power splitter in this case as well. The power strip will light up when it is turned on. Now grab the legs, upper shell, and lower shell of the printer. Close the case and use it as a table to set up the printer. Make sure the printer is sitting on the edge of the case. The legs come out at an angle and can't be installed without clearance. There are 2 bolts for each leg that will be left on the bottom of the printer when disassembled. Install the 2 bolts and repeat for each leg. Once the legs are installed, stand the printer up. Take the top lid off to install the power and data cable. The power cable will plug into the bottom port of the printer. The data cable coming out of the tray we left out earlier will plug in on the top. At this point, we will plug in power to all the devices. The last cable we will need to attach is the DC barrel jack coming out of the booth. Plug in all the remaining cords into our power strip. Now we can close up the printer and start preparing the iPad and LED ring. Take off the faceplate and make sure the iPad is plugged in with the USB-C cable inside. Sometimes the iPad will run out of battery in the case, so you might have to wait for it to charge. If you aren't getting power to the iPad or the LED light, pull the iPad mount forward and make sure that the USB cable and power cord are properly plugged into the hub in the back of the mount. Now that we have everything set up, we can launch the PhotoBooth app and get the software running. Once you have the app open, you will want to go to the Dashboard tab on the main page. We need to select the assigned settings for your event. For this video, we will use Basic Corporate for the event and preset settings. Now to launch the PhotoBooth, press the play button in the bottom right corner of the screen. If you accidentally pick the wrong setting, you can get back to the dashboard by holding your finger in the top left corner of the screen. Every time you set up the PhotoBooth, you need to test to make sure all the sharing methods work for the event.
Your photo is printing.
And there you have it. That will be everything you need to know about a basic PhotoBooth setup. Please reach out to a warehouse or delivery lead if you have questions. This item is rather complicated, so questions are expected from new employees. That is all I got for you today. Toodaloo, and see you next time. Bye.